All right, so welcome to Miracle Work 3, the one of the last classes. Next week we still have a class. So today there's a great subject that I would love to say deeply come into, and that's the idea of faithfulness. We use parts of chapter 17, I think it is, and some of the teacher's manual. So faithfulness is something else than faithlessness, but because it's actually really great to use it to see where your faith is there and your faithlessness sometimes is there too, and see that interferes. But so it's actually entering into a subtle level about faith in general. So this is not faith in a God or faith in no, this is a little bit different. So I'll come into that a little later. So first of all, we are here to let go of all the goals that we want to achieve and to let go of all the concerns and just come into relaxation. Like, okay, this is a moment where we come together to allow communication, to allow experiencing the connectedness. So let go of your thoughts, let go of your ideas, let go of your concerns, your occupations of mind, that things that were occupying a moment ago, and sink deep into a rest, because that is like there you will be receptive. It doesn't happen anywhere else. And it can be there instantaneously by your discipline, so to speak. So here we are. So don't forget to breathe and relax into that. That's great. So it's like, all right, we can let go. Oh yeah, stillness is still. Yeah, right. It is still. It's not anything else. It's just still. So there's light. In stillness, there's light, and there's communication. So bringing this idea of faith into this, it is really great, because it helps you to see how you respond to certain situations, and coming from somewhere, coming from where, when you decide something, or like this. It's like when you have full faith in, okay, I know what my purpose is, and I allow spirit to say, do the choice for me continuously. Or yes, I'm in this holy relationship. I'm experiencing holy instances in this holy relationship, and there are no exceptions to it. It's like you're continuously dedicated to implementing that, inviting it in every situation, more and more and more and more, just as almost like second nature. It just happens easily. So this is like what's being described as faithfulness, and faithfulness then is one of the characteristics of the teachers of God. And it says too, we will read that in a moment. It says too, it's like there's immediately gentleness connected to it, and honesty, and all this, because it's like that's literally where that comes together, where you start to feel, say, there's no conflict in your decision, or in the acts that you do, or in the reactions that you give. There's no conflict involved of it, because you're literally stepping into the faith that you're being guided and that you're being led along the way. So that filters, so to speak, all the conflict that you can possibly implement in your decisions. So this is a bit of the idea that I want to convey, so to speak, in what we're going to read and what we're going to look at. Because of you're not always aware that it has to do with faith, so you place your trust in something, you believe something, you put your faith in something, but what is it? And are you aware of where you put your faith in when you're in certain situations? So it will become more clear when I bring the readings in, and I will not read a lot, but I will read, say, a couple of headlines from the paragraphs that I'm going to use. And that has the title, The Need for Faith. So that's another one. See, that the idea of faith, as you were used to maybe, was also connected to an idea of church, believing in God, having faith, not having experiences, but just having faith in it. It's like that was kind of almost became a dirty word, so to speak, in the in the way that I was brought up, at least. Like I didn't want to deal with that much. After a while, I had well, that's not for me. If I just have to believe it, I can believe in anything. I want to experience it. But here then, faith is a complete new way of reliance. Like, yes, that's what I can trust. Yes, that is going to help me with everything, like with no exception. And I love to apply that because I know the outcome of my own decisions or my own ways. And if I'm unconscious of where I put my faith in and just go do things or whatever. So that's another part. Also, I would love to, because we're doing Miracle Work 3, I want to repeat some of the miracle principles and bring those in as real guidance for ourselves. So I'll read some. So one that my eye catches right now is this one. The miracle is a learning device which lessens the need for time. The sudden shift from horizontal to vertical perception, which the miracle entails, introduces an interval from which the doer and the receiver both emerge farther along in time than they would otherwise have been. The miracle is the only device which man has at his immediate disposal for controlling time. The miracle is the only device which man has at its immediate disposal for controlling time. So there's still the idea of faith. So we're not forgetting that at the same time. So it's like, okay, are you trusting, like literally, are you trusting the miracle, or did you put your faith in the miracle? A miracle rearranges the order of perception and places the levels in their true perspective. This heals at all levels because all sickness comes from confusing the levels. A miracle rearranges the order of perception and places the levels in their true perspective. This heals at all levels because all sickness comes from confusing the levels. The miracle unites souls directly with each other. A miracle is a universal blessing from God through me to all my brothers. The miracle restores the soul to its fullness. By atoning for lack, it establishes perfect protection. Christ inspires all miracles, which are essentially intercessions. They intercede for man's holiness and make him holy. They place man beyond the physical laws and raise him into the sphere of celestial order. In this order, man is perfect. So I'm going to continue in the manual for teachers. So that is the part that's about faith. Faithfulness. It's on page 427. Faithfulness. So I'm reading those two paragraphs right now. Faithfulness. The extent of the teacher of God's faithfulness is in the measure of his advancement in the curriculum. Does he still select some aspects of his life to bring to his learning while keeping others apart? If so, this advancement is limited and his trust not yet firmly established. Faithfulness is the teacher of God's trust in the word of God to set all things right, not some but all. Generally, his faithfulness begins by resting on some problems, remaining carefully limited for a time. So to give up all problems to one answer is to reverse the thinking of the world entirely. And that alone is faithfulness. Nothing but what really deserves the name. Nothing but that really deserves the name. Yet each degree, however small, is worth achieving. Readiness, as the text notes, is not mastery. Okay, so repeating one sentence. Faithfulness is the teacher of God's trust in the word of God to set all things right, not some, but all. Generally, his faithfulness begins by resting on just some problems, remaining carefully limited for a time. To give up all problems to one answer is to reverse the thinking of the world entirely. And that alone is faithfulness. Nothing but that really deserves the name. So that is quite clear. That's quite clear what's being stated. I'll come back to that in a second. So the second paragraph is this. True faithfulness, however, does not deviate. Being consistent, it is wholly honest. Being unswerving, it is full of trust. Being based on fearlessness, it is gentle. Being certain, it is joyous. Being confident, it is tolerant. Defenselessness attends it naturally, and joy is its condition. Faithfulness then combines in itself the other attributes of teachers of God. It implies acceptance of the word of God and his definition of his Son. It is to them that faithfulness, in the true sense, is always directed. Toward them it looks, seeking until it finds, and having found, it rests in quiet certainty on that alone to which all faithfulness is due. So true faithfulness, however, does not deviate. So being consistent, it is wholly honest. Being unswerving, it is full of trust. Being based on fearlessness, it is gentle. Being certain, it is joyous. And being confident, it is tolerant. I thought that was a great part of it. It's like that's really great to read that, because it's like these are the fundamental values, so to speak. So it says in the course, some places, like a full commitment to this, like the decision to do this completely makes everything easier. And you can see why. It's like in the idea of faithfulness, offering everything to the one answer, as it is said here, offering everything to the one answer takes away all the confusion. So the things in your life, so to speak, in your daily life, where you are conflicted, where you bump up against the same wall or the same thing, you see that and there's to a certain degree like an inconsistency in that. And that's okay. It says it here too. It's nothing wrong with it. It is just, if you want to see the cause of your conflict, you can almost always find it there. Like, you missed one opportunity to give this away. That's the only reason why it comes up. So give it away, and then it's restored again. Like, give it away. So in that, your certainty can grow. In that, by applying that consistently, things can fundamentally change. See, and this is not to knock yourself over the head, so to speak. That's not why this is being used. It's not to attack yourself with it, but it is like an invitation to take another look at how you apply this in your life. Because if you don't offer everything to the one answer, so to speak, you still want some things to be not resolved, and that is a choice. So it's like, it's not where you put your faith in then, and because you already have an answer that you actually like more than the one answer. So that's also interesting to see that there's a tendency to do that, and everyone has that. Like, in your development, in your awakening, you see that happen. And so it is like, you have to admit to your own corruption in it, in that sense. It's like, yeah, I'm doing that in some certain parts. Yes, it's not complete yet. I keep that for myself. I don't really know why I do that, but I'm still doing that. And so this is the definition or the description of faithfulness. We come back to that later. So going back to chapter 17, where I was talking about the need for faith, there are some very interesting faith-related statements that I want to bring in. And they're quite, extreme in a certain sense. Here, for instance, this one. So this on page 175, chapter 17, forgiveness and healing. And then at 17H, the need for faith. There's no problem in any situation that faith will not solve. There's no problem in any situation that faith will not solve. There is no shift in any aspect of the problem. There is no shift in any aspect of the problem, but will make solution impossible. There is no shift in any aspect of the problem, but will make solution impossible. That's hard to read. There is no problem in any situation that faith will not solve. Well, that is clear. There's no shift in any aspect of the problem, but will make solution impossible. For if you shift part of a problem elsewhere, the meaning of the problem must be lost, and the solution to the problem is inherent in its meaning. So that's a good one to think over one more time. It's incredible the way it is formulated. It's like you cannot read over it. You can discard it and say like, okay, well, I will do that another time. But see, there's like a knot being presented, and you can literally let the information come to you that's in it. So here, let's go for it. For if you shift part of the problem somewhere else, the meaning of the problem must be lost, and the solution to the problem is inherent in its meaning. But you put it somewhere else for a moment. Is it not possible that all your problems have been solved, but you have removed yourself from the solution? Whoa, that's a good question. So is it not possible that all your problems have been solved? It's like, okay, we can admit that. Yes, all my problems have been solved because I can basically only have one problem and there's one solution. Problem is separation, thinking that I'm separate from God. solution is it is already restored. There's no problem. See, that as a fundamental ideas concept is so easy. It's like, yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely. Getting to the practice of it, it is like, how to do this? How does this work? So that's interesting. So what are we going to do now? Oh, here's another one too. This is, see, then the idea of body comes in again. Okay, so a situation, let's do this, just this first paragraph, because it's so full of information that you see in the later paragraphs too. A situation is a relationship, being the joining of thoughts. If problems are perceived, it is because the thoughts are judged to be in conflict. If problems are perceived, it is because the thoughts are judged to be in conflict. But if the goal is truth, it is impossible. Some ideas of bodies must have entered, for mind cannot attack. So here, the next, the thought of bodies is the sign of faithlessness, for bodies cannot solve anything. And it is their intrusion on the relationship, an error in your thoughts about the situation, that then became the justification for your lack in faith. See, now, slowly but certainly, you probably start to feel what I mean with the idea of faith, lack of faith. It's like, so you use, so to speak, you use the relationship or the idea of body in a justification for your faithlessness. Like you use that to not having certain parts resolved, because you can literally point it at people or bodies, or like, yeah, if this one didn't have done that, then that would be much easier for me to be in full faith about how I'm supposed to solve things. You know, it's like, yeah, that makes it easy, but those bodies are really triggering me in the wrong direction. Well, this must sound kind of familiar to you. Like, that's really what we call projection. So really interesting. So I'm just skimming through this part and see where this leads us. So I pick lines out of this. Only what you have not given in any situation can be lacking. Only what you have not given can be lacking in any situation. And that's a sentence that has been coming back to me so many times. It's like, it's unbelievable. Like, okay, so I'm not really happy with this situation. So there must be something that I haven't given to it. You know, that's a good self-check if you want. It's like a really good self-check. So maybe there's something I can give to this situation. See, but the other way around it is true too. It's like, if you think that you don't like a certain situation or run away from it, you're actually missing the part where you actually start to give to it. So you're giving something to the situation to make it complete. Not that you know how to do that, but you are willing to do that. So, and this is a real this is a real killer, so to speak, because it's like, how can you give in certain situations? In some situations, it seems impossible to give to it because you actually really don't like the situation and you want to leave it for that and you want to walk away. You know, it's absolutely. So, but it is what's being shared here is like the only possibility, and it is actually really interesting. So are you Are you seeing the situation that you're entering into as a static thing? Or are you open-minded enough to bring in the idea of miracle? Like, are you walking around with your miracle mind or with a closed mind that judges situations and walks away from it? See, that's where the crux then is. Now, those situations are just perfectly designed for you to enter into, to with your open miracle mind, and who knows what is possible. You're just available to let the miracle work through you into the situation. Who knows what that will be? So it's like you got to slow down really in situations in order to be aware of, oh yeah, this is an option. Wait a minute. I really thought that this situation is static and that I can walk away from it, and that would be I'm used to doing that, something like that. Like, no, here, it's like, just stay there for just a moment and open your mind to see what comes through to you, or what you suddenly are expressing, what's being expressed through you, through your presence, in a surprising way to yourself too. Who knows what is possible? So that's really lovely. And maybe I'm curious to hear examples of you that you actually waited long enough for yourself, not running away from the situation, but really being able to see that the shift took place just by you being willing to allowing that to occur, and see that literally the world changes. See, but actually what I was saying in the beginning, and I refer to that now because now it becomes a little bit more clear, is then the idea of faith is also then in the word, and the word is literally given us in this, like the option of miracle mindedness in a certain situation, relying on the one who's inspiring all miracles, like your source, your true self, that gives you options that you didn't have before. This is like entering into a whole new way of being present everywhere. So the idea of faith is then you trust that option, you start to apply that option, and you trust it. And that's the way that your certainty grows in this, that you see it at work. No matter where you are, like there's no exception either. So that's always with this, it's so complete and so always applicable. Okay. Use not your faithlessness. Let it enter. Oh, here it is. Let it enter. Let your faithlessness come in. That's all right. And look upon it calmly, but do not use it. This is also great. So in situations or in whenever you experience it, and when faithlessness enters in with like, okay, well, this is hopeless. I have no idea. I'm just going to go. Then it's like, you're not going to go. You stay right there. You don't do anything. You let your faithlessness just be there, and you don't act from it. See, because acting from it, like Joel would say, like you enter into karma. If you enter into your faithlessness, you're making karma. You're delaying yourself in your awakening, or now you have to go through the same thing again. You will end up here again because it did not dissolve. So that's lovely. So to stay with it, allowing every option to be open in the moment, not following your say observation of the situation, but trusting in something else, putting your faith in it, makes the possibility, opens up the possibility that it can be changed. Nothing is fixed. Like nothing is fixed, no matter what it is. Like nothing is fixed. I remember being in Poland, in Krakow, and having no cash in my wallet, but I had to pay for the tram there. And so the guy came up to me to ask me, okay, where's your ticket, in Polish. I couldn't understand it anyway, but I knew what he meant. And then I remember this too, that I was open. It's like, it's not fixed, it's not going to happen anything. And he started to use a little bit of English, and I started to respond to it, and we had some kind of conversation. And then actually I was already at the point where I needed to exit, and I said to him, I didn't pay yet, but I have to go here. He said, oh no, it's fine, you just go ahead, no problem. So it's like these little things are just see, it's like nothing is fixed. And that is such a freeing idea, that you're never bound by the situation that you find yourself in. No, there's another option. There's another option. The one option, basically, that's available for you. It's like the one option because of the one answer, and it's available. So anytime that you perceive a limitation, or you feel the bondage of this place, or you feel the contraction of the situation that you're in, don't think that it cannot change. It's like, no, here we are really at work then as miracle workers. It's like, okay, let's do this miracle. I'm going to let my faithlessness come in and don't do anything with it, but I keep open the one option that I have, and that is that I can completely trust that there's a solution to this. Amazing, right? Amazing gift, really lovely. Oh yeah, this is a nice one too. So no relationship is holy unless its holiness goes with it everywhere. No relationship is holy unless its holiness goes with it everywhere. So this is like, do not lead me into temptation. Something like that comes up. It's like, no, a holy relationship is holy if you keep it holy everywhere, if that is still the function of the relationship, of the situation. Okay, so let me know if you can hear this. What never was is causeless and is not there to interfere with truth. What never was is causeless and is not there to interfere with truth. It is not there. There is no cause for faithlessness. There is no cause for faithlessness. But there is a cause with capital C for faith. See, it immediately aligns with the idea of the one answer. It's like it immediately aligns with it. So if you are driven by your faithlessness, then there's deviation and there's conflict and there's all of that. But only in your dream. It has no reality at all. When you align with your cause, with capital C, when you align with your source, what problem can you probably have? You know, what can you probably what can you have as a problem? There's just no way that you can have that. So I love that. So these are very short statements, so to speak, of truth. But I think they're great to use in looking at the idea of faith and faithlessness. Okay, so here's another one. This H7. That cause with capital C has entered any situation that shares its purpose. The light of truth shines from the center of the situation and touches everyone to whom the situation's purpose calls. It calls to everyone. There is no situation that does not involve your whole relationship in every aspect and complete in every part. You can leave nothing of yourself outside it and keep the solution holy. I love that too. I was so happy to read that this morning. It's like, oh my God, that's so great. You can leave nothing of yourself outside it and keep the situation holy. It's like literally the invitation to include it, everything in. So it's all allowed to be there. It's not that you follow up with everything, but it needs to be included in everything. Like, absolutely. So there's no situation that does not involve your whole relationship in every aspect and complete in every part. Well, that's all good stuff to contemplate, really sit still with and listen to what it shares, what it says.